Hey everybody, and welcome to Dominion Cards, the video series where we take a strategic, in-depth look at various cards from the board game Dominion. Today we're looking at University. This is a 2 and potion cost action card from Alchemy, and it says +2 actions, you may gain an action card costing up to 5. So primarily, University is a gainer. It gains you pretty expensive action cards, a lot better than something like Workshop that only gets you cards up to 4. University gets you ones that cost up to 5. Now, we've talked about this in the Artisan video a bit, but 5 cost gainers are usually much better than your Workshop type cards because cards are a very significant jump in power between costing 4 and costing 5 most of the time. Now, in addition to this, University is also a basic stop card village, right, just +2 actions. This is one of the weakest types of village effect that you can get, like the +1 card on a regular village actually really helps. But this is a really nice effect to combine with an action card gainer. Right, the best friend of action cards is usually the village effect, right? Because you need those plus actions to play more action cards. So if you're going to be gaining a lot of action cards, well, you need some villages, and University does both of these things for you. So at first glance, this is going to seem very powerful, right? 5 cost gainers are usually very good cards, and villages are also really nice to have. And this is both of those things. What a great combination of effects. So what's the catch? Right, the problem is that University is a very slow card. And the big problem here is the potion that is in its cost. If you want University, then most of the time you're going to need to gain a potion first. Now, in the potion video I did talk about there are ways that sometimes you can skip needing a potion, but most of those allow you to also just gain other like action cards in the same way. So if you want University, then one of those sort of abilities probably isn't here. So we're just going to assume in this video that you're always buying University by getting a potion. So under normal circumstances, you won't be able to actually play the card that you have gained from a University until your 4th shuffle in the game at the earliest. So the reason for this is because, first of all, you've got to actually buy a potion, probably on turn 1 or 2, and then you've got to shuffle your deck, and then you've got to draw and play that potion so that you can buy University. Then you've got to shuffle your deck, and you've got to draw, and you've got to play University to gain an action card, and then you've got to shuffle your deck again, and then finally you've got to find and draw that action card, and now you get a chance to play it. That can be 7, 11 turns or something, like very, very long time until you're finally able to actually play a card. Right? How long are Dominion games sometimes? Like they're actually pretty quick. Like on standard, you would expect it to take 16 turns, like less or more sometimes, but around then, this is a very long time until you finally get some sort of benefit out of University. Now, of course, eventually, decks with University will be very strong. University gives you very good pile control, right? Because it gains a lot of cards from actions, like action piles, very easily. You can, you've got these actions that you're using to play a lot of powerful cards, and you can just, as you're playing this strong deck, you can just gain a whole load of action cards so easily, right? Because this is it's not just a non-terminal University, it's a village, right? So very easy to just play lots of them if you've got very strong deck control and you've got a bunch of Universities. So if your deck has the time and the ability to get there, then it's very clear to see why University can be a very strong card. So the question with University is, do we want to go for it straight away or do we want to wait for a little bit? So University provides an alternative way to get your expensive 5-cost cards without actually having to buy them. And that's quite nice because when you buy Potion on turn 1 or 2, because you want to be getting these Universities as soon as possible, that actually makes it quite hard to hit 5 price point for buying those cards early on. And that is because the Potion is getting in the way. If you consider instead of a potion, you could have bought a silver, right? And that's something that you might want to do if you want to be buying like a 5-cost card yourself. So by buying like the potion instead, well, you need that silver often to get you up to 5. It's very hard to hit 5 with only coppers. It does happen sometimes, but it's pretty rare. So if you have got like a potion in your deck eating up space, then it's very difficult. It's like any other stop card, like if you'd bought a remodel or something, right? That stops you hitting 5. And the same is true of potion as well. So if you want to go for potion straight away, usually you're doing that in the expectation that you're probably just going to take a little bit longer to hit 5. Now, sometimes the cards that are at 5 are really important to get early on. An example of this can be like Sentry. Now, yes, eventually University can get you a lot of Sentries. It's a cantrip. It's very easy to just have a load of them in your deck. So University is more than happy when Sentry is around. But the big problem with Sentry is that if you want to use it to actually get thin and trash your deck, if you have already gained a lot of other cards by the time you play Sentry, when it reveals the top 2 cards of your deck, it's going to have quite a lot of difficulty finding like 2 junk cards that you want to trash. So it really loses a lot of effectiveness as a trasher unless you get it straight away. So if like Sentry was the only trasher and trashing was really important, which it will be for University in particular, then maybe you don't actually want to start going for University straight away. What you're sort of hoping is that by instead getting something that really gives you deck control, like Sentry, and doing that first, yes, you're still now going to have to spend all of that time like buying the potion and then buying the University to finally start using it. But if you've got your deck under control and it's faster to cycle through it and draw it early on, then it doesn't take as long to get to that state where you're now able to use Universities and start gaining them, just because you're shuffling more often, basically. Something that University really, really likes are very cheap trash cards that cost 2 or 3. University only costs 2 coins and a potion, which is actually on the cheaper side for a lot of these potion cards, and so it's often pretty affordable during the early trashing turns. So all you need is the potion and 2 other coppers, and you get to buy University, which is a 3-card hand. And a lot of the cheap trash cards might trash like 1 card from your hand, or have the option to trash only 1 from your hand, which means you might end up with only 3 cards left in your hand. And so therefore, like these early turns, you're not normally going to be buying much very expensive anyway. Well, you've got University as something that you can buy, and you really want this trashing to get deck under control with University. So I've got some examples here: Ambassador, Masquerade, Catapult, Cathedral. Yes, these all cost 3. There's also stuff like Chapel that costs 2, but I'm not going to exhaustively list everything. But when you see these cheap trash cards that are going to costing you 3 or less, like that's normally a great sign for University. It means that you're going to be able to get your deck under control and really take advantage of University. So why is getting your deck under control so important for University in particular? Well, University is a stop card, right? It doesn't draw you any cards. But it's worth noting that the potion is a stop card as well. So if you're looking to get a lot of Universities and maybe you're going to be keeping the potion around for a while, like this really gets in the way of your ability to draw your deck. Like you can really struggle to draw decks with University sometimes because you've got all of these stop cards. And yes, that can happen with stuff like Festival as well, but bear in mind you've got this extra stop card as well, the potion, that's only got 1 use, and that is like to buy these Universities that's getting in the way. So it's actually a little bit worse as like in terms of stop card space than your typical like stop card village. Now in 2-player games, if the University pile is going to empty, then a lot of Universities need to be gained. Like, at least one of the players is going to have to get 5 or more Universities. Like, maybe you both get 5, maybe you only get 2, and the other opponent's got to get, like, 8 Universities. That is a lot of stop cards that they have to support if they want to do that. So, one of the things that's a little bit of a worry sometimes with potion cost cards is, do you get rid of the potion like early on, or do you sort of hang on to it? Because the thing is that if you decide to, like, you get 2 universities and then you want to like remodel the potion to just get it out of your deck and free up that stop card space for something better, then you lose the ability to basically lower the pile for universities, because there's no other way to get them other than having a potion and buying it. And if you're not careful, you can end up with some potion card piles where your opponent can now empty a third pile, which is that pile, but you can't because you got rid of your potion, and so they have much better control over ending the game. Now, University is, of course, very good at ending the game because it's such a strong gainer, but because it's so hard to support so many universities in a deck, you're not necessarily going to be at risk of having the university pile empty. If you just get 2 or 3 of them and then get rid of your potion in a 2-player game, that is so many universities that your opponent needs to get in order to actually lower the pile. So you might not have to worry about this compared to some other types of potion cost cards. Another thing you really got to watch out for, University, is how are you earning your money? Sometimes there isn't a way to earn money from action cards. And most of the time, you're not going to find good action victory duel types. And University is restricted to only gaining action cards. So what this means is that in most games, University isn't going to help you actually score points. Yes, sometimes there's going to be like distant lands, but most of the time there isn't. So you are going to want to buy victory cards at some point, and if there's no way of earning money from action cards, then you're going to need treasures, and most treasures are stock cards. That's even more stock card space that you now need to account for, and you can just end up needing a whole bunch of stock cards in order to support these University decks, and that means you need a lot of draw. So most other 5-cost gainers can gain duchies, but University specifically can't. So Artisan can gain duchies, you've got Altar, it can gain duchies, you've got Vampire, it can gain duchies, like a huge host of these good 5-cost gainers. They all get duchies, but not University. In addition to that, as a stock card village, most other stock card villages actually give you money when you play them. So Festival, Squire, Village, Conclave, and so on and so forth. There's a whole list of them. University doesn't. Now, it's not the only stock card village that doesn't earn you money, like Shantytown, for example, doesn't, but a huge bunch of them do. So what this means is that University is very likely to end up with a deck where you are just gonna need all of these treasures in it. And that means that it's now, compared with other stock card villages, you're going to need so much more draw, right? At least with like Festival, sometimes you can avoid like getting treasures completely. And so, it stinks that Festival is, a stock card village, but at least it's giving you money, right? Something like Festival Moat isn't very good because your hand size doesn't go up. But at least you can actually earn money while churning through those cards to as much as you can. But with University, you can't do that, right? If you're playing University Moat, this is not helping you buy victory cards at all. How are you scoring, right? You're not actually drawing these treasures that you need. So you might need a lot of draw, and really good draw, in order to actually support any decent number of universities in a deck, because you just got to spend that stock card space on other things. Right? You would love to have a gazillion universities. Sometimes you just can't do that. Now, because it is a stock card village, University really likes draw to X. It's a lot like Festival. You know how much Festival likes library in the base game? Well, University is the same. But I just wanted to call out, in particular, Watchtower. This is a very special interaction with University. It's a very powerful card that works with it. So Watchtower from Prosperity, not only is it a draw card, it says draw until you have 6 cards in hand, but also when you gain a card, it can be revealed from your hand to basically put the card that you just gained on top of your deck. So if you have a University and a Watchtower both in hand, you get to play the University, draw a card, put it on top of your deck, and then you get to play some draw to X the Watchtower that's in your hand and immediately draw that card, and then you've still got an action and you can play it straight away. So very strong. Watchtower allows you to sort of, like, not only is it draw to X that these cards really like, so it's giving you that draw, but also it undoes some of the slowness of University by letting you just immediately top deck those cards and play them without having to shuffle that extra time. Lastly, I just want to mention with University, you've got to remember that the gaining of action cards is actually optional. It's very easy to fall into a habit where, because you're playing a gainer, and University is primarily a gainer, you think, oh yeah, I want to pick up an action card. Oh, well, here's some cantrip, right? It's a free gain. I'll just gain it anyway. And sometimes, you're playing University even if you don't really want any other type of card, because it's a village. It's still doing something useful for you that you might want. But you've got to really take care of just inadvertently lowering piles, because if you lower piles too much with these cards that you don't necessarily want, you can open a situation where your opponent can just suddenly 3-pile on you because you gained too many cards, lowered the piles too much, and basically give them an opportunity to win. So take very good care with University of how low piles are. Don't just gain stuff just because it's a gainer and it lets you do that. So that's all I really have to say on University. So what we are going to do now is we are going to head over to the online client. We are going to generate some kingdoms that have University in it, and we are going to see what sort of impact it has on those kingdoms. Here we have 3-cost trash cards. We've got Lookout, we've got Masquerade. Hey, this is great. We've got Draw to X with the library, but there's also Wharf as well, which is a very powerful card in general. So straight away we're seeing that there is some kind of engine. There's, universities, libraries, wharves. We can get thin pretty well because there's Masquerade. There's even like Vassal. Is there anything that interacts particularly with Vassal? I don't think there is. I mean, Lookout will occasionally show you and let you leave a action card on the deck, but it's not really reliable. You don't really want to do that. Funnily enough, there is Pirate Ship. I wonder how worrying Pirate Ship is here, because the problem is there's no other village other than University. And what's University going to be doing? Playing Vassals? Maybe. Playing Swindlers? That actually sounds pretty good. I am happy to turn my opponent's wharves and libraries into Explorer. Like, maybe I'm never getting library. Maybe I just want wharves here. But, how many wharves can I play? Well, I need a lot of universities. I think what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be opening Masquerade and Potion. I will get a university, and I will just buy a lot of wharves, because Wharf is very good. I suppose if you draw too much, then you can't use Vassals. And, University is the only village. There's actually not that much village support. It would be nice to be able to draw treasures, just because Wharf is very good and we can get our deck thin. I wonder if you actually are at risk of being pirate shipped. Like, if this is this game where people thin their deck and then they have to rely on treasures, and you can just gain a bunch of pirate ships suddenly and play them. I wonder if that might actually be good. Maybe it's not. Maybe we just try and swindler our opponent to death. That feels better. And Wharf isn't super expensive as a terminal, because half of them aren't in play on any given turn, right? You're only playing half of them. So I think I want Masquerade, Wharf, University, and Swindler. And maybe once that is done, then I don't need to worry about anything else. I just want to smack my opponent with Swindlers as much as I can, basically, and just destroy their deck. Yeah, if I hit University, they just get trashed. Right, and they disappear, but eventually they might lose their universities and then they're in trouble. This pile will probably empty because they're going to get swindled and it's just going to rapidly lower the pile. Yeah, okay, so that's what it is. We're just going to try and just swindle. If our opponent tries to do some funny business like Pirate Ship, we might be able to swindle those into Secret Passage. And we don't need our own treasures if we have Swindler. Can we even play 4 Swindlers? I'm not sure. But you know what else is a problem? The Potion is at risk. We want to be buying as many universities as we can, and we actually might lose the Potion to Swindler. If that happens and it gets turned into a pirate ship or a Secret Passage, we're in big trouble. We have to buy it back again to buy University. So it's just Swindler is the big thing here. And University, as the only village, and as a gainer to gain like Wharf, is really important. So we don't care about hitting 5 straight away. So it's going to be open in Masquerade and Potion. We want to gain Universities. Maybe we get a Swindler and we start doing that on our next 3, right? But we've got to get Masquerade first. Maybe we just get 2 Masquerades. I don't know. But there's maybe not. But there's time for Swindler. I mean, we can always trash a Masquerade later on, right? So maybe we do. But Swindler at some point is going to be very nasty. And we just go all in on them. I think that's what we do this game. So University's good, basically. It's key card on that board, and we're going to be gunning for it straight away. Okay, here we have University is the only village. Again, there is no trashing at all, so that's really bad for University. There's also Scrying Pool, and the fact that there's no trashing is really bad for it. And there's also Witch, which is really, really bad for these cards with no trashing. Right, you can't use these cards, these 2 alchemy cards, when there's no trashing and there's a really strong junking attack. So we are going to be gunning for Witch. I'm going to open double silver. So the only other thing that's going on here is Workshop Gardens under a Cursing Onslaught. Is Workshop Gardens good enough to beat Witch Big Money, which is basically the thing that you're going for? Now, there is Harem, right? Witch, this is actually interesting. Witch and Harem instead of golds might actually help score enough points to fend off Workshop Gardens. I don't think Workshop Gardens could work. It's not actually that great generally, but this is a very weak board. I mean, you're not going to be mining stuff, really. You just want a bunch of witches and harems. Sorry, did I say harem before? It's harem, I think it is. So that's probably what I'm doing. Witch harem, wow. How exciting. Anyway, no University on this board. There is no engine. So yeah, it definitely can't work on that kind of kingdom. Just no chance. Here we have a chapel to get thin very quickly. Our village is University, but there's also Golem. So the big problem here is that there is no draw. There is Outpost. There is Sentry. There's no draw, I say, but there is Golem. And there are a lot of sentries that you can get with Universities in order to hit with Golem, which is nice. I don't really want to be adding Havens to my deck because my hand size is pretty bad. Okay, so let's imagine we try and draw with Golem. Is it actually worth the effort of getting a potion and University, gaining a whole load of sentries? And then what do we do? Right, this is the problem. What do we actually do after this? I honestly don't know. There's Gardens, there's Harem, there's Salvager, Outpost. You can't do anything on your Outpost turn. How terrible is that? Unless you haven a bunch of stuff, like some golems maybe, just for your outpost turn. But okay, so you draw a bunch with Sentry, but you're not actually drawing that much. You're essentially getting a laboratory effect for having 1 golem and 2 sentries. That's a lot of gains just for a combined 1 laboratory effect. It's very expensive. So I think this might actually just be Harem and Gardens big money, and maybe we don't even bother to trash with Chapel. Is this the rare Chapel skip board? We're actually skipping Chapel because we don't want to trash, because the coppers are good, because there's Gardens and there's Harem. Really? I mean, maybe. What are we going to make use for out of Salvager? I don't see it, honestly. We've got pawn for extra buys to get more coppers for gun. Oh, it's so bad. Oh, it's absolutely terrible. But what else are we doing? The engine has no payoff is the big problem. If we build an engine here, what are we doing? Right, yeah, we draw a little bit with Golem and Sentry, but so what, right? It takes so long, and it takes so many gains just to get so little benefit. And there's no, terminal draw to make use out of, Harem big money. So I guess it's just a weird crap slog, right? They're even gardens. Like, is that really all we're doing? I think it is. Oh, such a terrible board. I honestly don't know what to do because there's just so little that you can actually do on this board. And I think Haven is all right if we're going to be doing Harem and Gardens, right? You can save money from one turn to the next. So I guess I'm opening... Do we actually just want to get rid of the estates with Salvager? Salvager's not very good in a big money context. You don't really want to be trashing the copper, especially if there's gardens to get a few more points and the game goes on long. So I guess I'm opening silver and probably a pawn. I can just do card buy and I can pick up, like, hope that I get, or like coin and buy and maybe buy like extra coppers, I don't know. Or I get like 2 havens on a turn or something. Like maybe that's fine. Like, yeah. But like Gardens is so bad if you're getting 1 card per turn, isn't it? Like it takes for it to be Duchy. Game's got to go on at least 20 turns, right, for it just to be cheap Duchy. But maybe that's okay here. Maybe we just always get Harem instead of gold, and we don't care to ever really hit province. We're just going to be having the game go on as long as possible. Engine players not really hitting province. Like someone just buying gold and silver is going to take a very long time to hit province as well. They will do it. Like, you will do it sometimes, I guess. Oh, what a terrible board. Anyway, there's no university here. Like, avoid potion and most of the action cards, I guess. You might get some sentries, but probably not. But you only need to discard stuff. Here we have... So university is the only village, and we've got Torturer and Caravan as draw. There is also Familiar as a cursing attack, and there is no trashing except your opponent's... I'm sorry, there's Moneylender. There is trashing. What am I talking about? Okay, I really want Moneylender in this case because I really want to do University Torturer. I know that stinks, but it's good. Or is Familiar better, thinking about it? Right, Familiar and Torturer both give out curses, but Familiar's a lot better at doing it. I want to gum up my opponent's deck with curses, for sure. That's what I want to do. Now, there is Lurker. We actually don't have to go for Potion. We could... that's good. We don't have to go for Potion. We can go Moneylender, Lurker. We can get a second Lurker, and we can just gain Familiars directly. And we just want to gain a bunch of Familiars and start giving out all the curses. And then when that's done, our deck is starting to get thin, but it's got some Lurkers in it, unfortunately. But I still think that's better than having a Potion, because we can't get rid of the Potion either, and Lurker is better than Potion, basically. Because Lurker can start getting us Caravans and Merchants and stuff, but it can get us University or 2, and that can start getting us Torturers, and we should be able to build up from there. It's going to take a while, but, you know, there is Familiar, and there is no way to trash the curses, so it's very important that we get them. And I think I don't want Potion. So the other thing is that there is Philosopher's Stone. This is a terrible card, but maybe if you go Potion, you eventually buy some Philosopher's Stone. No, that's got to be terrible. Right, like if you don't trash and you're expecting to get a lot of curses, Philosopher's Stone will kind of earn you some money, but I just don't see how that's going to compete with eventually drawing with University Torturer, lurking a pair of treasure maps, and then just drawing the golds and buying 1 province per turn, right? There's no plus buy. I just buy a province per turn. Like, Philosopher's Stone's still going to take too long. Like, feels real bad. And if they try it, you could try and pirate ship them away, but I mean, probably not. But I wonder how much, if your opponent seriously tries to just say, I'm going to go for Philosopher's Stone, if you can actually just wreck them with pirate ship, like, maybe you don't bother going for the curses straight away. You just, well, no, you do. You get a Familiar too, but then you just grab some pirate ships and just attack them and just smash their fill stones and they're destroyed completely. Like, but you really don't want to do that because Right, it's pirate ship, right? Well, you don't really want to be playing with that, but it counters them going Philosopher's Stone, probably. Like, I don't know. Like, but they also, if they go Philosopher's Stone, they don't actually want their coppers to be trashed, so you're actually doing them a favour by trashing, or you're not doing them a favour by trashing their coppers, sorry. It's actually not bad anymore. So, okay, so I think we go Moneylender Lurker, we eventually get another Lurker, we try and get Familiars and win the Junking War, and then we get a University or two, and we start trying to draw a bit with Torturers. Maybe, actually thinking about it, are we not just going to be gummed up with curses? Can we actually pull off University Torturer? I'm not sure that we can, but there is Caravans. Right, that helps. Actually, we can probably do okay with a bunch of Caravans. Maybe we go for Caravans over University Torturer, right? We get Familiars and then we just lurk a whole load of Caravans. I think that actually might be a better thing. We don't bother with Torturer University. Like, it doesn't seem very good. We can just lurk the treasure maps. Right, we don't need University as an action gainer because there is Lurker that is just going to be a lot better. If we want to avoid Potion, there's, don't bother with it, really. Just get all the Caravans. Seems better. Okay, so I guess that's what we're doing. I'm actually not sure what's better here, but I don't really want to buy the Potion if I can, so I think I will avoid that. And yeah, I will skip University here, so it's not a very good engine. I can't really deal with the University. It's not going to help me draw. I've got too many curses in my deck, right? And I've got Lurkers as well, which are more stock cards, so that's pretty bad. Here we have University and Shantytown as the only villages. Wow, right, very poor villages. But there's Scrying Pool to draw, so excellent. Right, we can draw very well indeed, but we got to get thin. And what's the trashing? There is Replace, and there is Transmute. Oh dear. That's very bad. Now, interestingly, you can draw Transmutes with Scrying Pool. Oh boy. So you never actually get rid of you turn all your coffers into Transmutes. No. Why would you do that? Would you really do that? Surely not. And you know what you can do? You can replace the Transmutes into Scrying Pools or Universities. That's actually a thing that you can do. Hold on, what are you going to get with University? So there's Courtier, this Outpost. Maybe I don't want University, this Poacher, but I don't... Well, actually, Poacher's okay, because if I have to discard a lot, I have Scrying Pool. Right? When I'm drawing, maybe the fact that Poacher's discarding doesn't matter. There's Cut Purse, but am I being hurt by Cut Purse? I don't care to hit 5 very quickly here. Maybe again, there's Lurker, so I don't actually ever need a Potion, thinking about it. And Lurker's nice with Scrying Pool. So I want all the Scrying Pools. I can gain... Oh no, I can gain Transmute. Wow, I think... Okay, hold on. Before I think about this ridiculous engine, what is the alternative? Can I just do something big money? Is there an alternative to the engine here? What am I building instead? I think Outpost makes the engine much better. It's actually very difficult to kick off on your Outpost turn because you need a Scrying Pool in your starting 3 hands. And that's actually quite difficult. Yeah, I don't like that at all. There's just too much junk that you can't get rid of. It takes so long to trash stuff with these Transmutes, and the villages are very poor, so you can't even play that many Transmutes. I feel like going for the engine actually just takes too long. So what is the real alternative to the engine? It is... It's nothing, right? There isn't anything. It's Poacher, and it's Shantytown for 1 for a laboratory, and it's Cut Purse. No. Right, it's Replace. Do we seriously just... big money replacing estates into Poachers? Yeah, maybe. I think that might actually be faster than the engine. So the big problem is just the lack of trashing, right? I can replace coppers into lurkers, right? So there are other better ways to trash other than transmute. So I don't have to go transmute. That was a silly thing to think. Imagine thinking I would ever buy transmute, right? Okay, but that's still, well, you can replace... Yeah, you know what? Replacing your coppers into lurkers is actually still okay. It's not the thing I want to be doing. If I open 5-2, I'm definitely grabbing a replace and a lurker, I guess, and I will gain a bunch of lurkers and I will replace a bunch of lurkers. And of course, lurker then has use in that I can replace other action cards. I can replace lurkers into poachers and then gain the poachers back with lurker. I can do this stuff. University, maybe I don't care for university. I've got a whole load of lurkers. I've got Shantytown if I need a village, right? It's just as good as university. It's the scrying pools that I want, and I can lurk the scrying pools. So, okay, I guess that's what we're doing then. We're going to try and replace our coppers into lurkers. We're going to turn the estates into poachers or something. We want to get a replace. So we open poacher. We can avoid silver because we can get a poacher or even a cut purse. We open cut purse and we open Shantytown, or we do poacher Shantytown and we don't worry about terminal collision. I don't really care for the cut purse, so I think that's what I do. I open poacher and Shantytown and I use those to hit 5 for a replace and we gain a bunch of lurkers. I don't open with them immediately. I'm actually happy with a second replace, honestly, if I hit 5 again, and eventually we go for the scrying pool thing, and we just have incredible pile control with lurkers, and we can replace stuff. Right, we can eventually replace things into courtier, we can gain gold, we can replace stuff into outpost, and we can have extra turns, and that should be pretty good. So I think university gets skipped because we've got another better gainer, and we've got Shantytown as a village, and we don't want to be getting a potion, we just want to be lurking stuff, so I don't care for university here. There we go. I think we got there in the end on this kingdom analysis. Cool. Well, as you can see, when the engine is good, university, you kind of want it, but, sometimes there's just better gainers and you don't want a potion. There's ways to avoid it, and do you really need university? Probably not, right, as you can see. So university I think it was used in half of those. When it's good, it's very, very good, but it's sometimes a bit more skippable than you think. I think that's what university is. Anyway, I hope this was useful for you. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.